More and more Republicans are starting to get into the idea of getting little kiddos like over there back into the workforce, okay? They're attacking US child labor laws as violations continue to rise in a number of different places. Well, look, that can mean a lot of different things. I wanna be fair, we're gonna dive into some of the legislation that has been proposed and see if we think there's any value to it. Bear in mind that we're talking about multiple different states where lawmakers are seeking to decrease the current regulations on child labor. So starting off in Iowa, Republican legislators introduced a bill in January to expand the types of work that 14 and 15-year-olds would be permitted to do as part of approved training programs, extend allowable work hours, and exempt employers from liability if these young workers are sickened, injured, or killed on the job. We can have a little bit of a conversation maybe about exactly what sorts of positions should be open to 14 to 15-year-olds. That might be fine. Maybe an argument about exactly how many hours per week they should be able to work. Okay, but when you are specifically trying to lower the liability for corporations if their young workers die, you lose the right to call yourself a party that's trying to save the children. That's the only point that I would want to make there. In any event, the bill in Iowa would permit the director of Iowa Workforce Development or the Iowa Department of Education to grant exceptions from any provision that restricts the types of jobs 14 and 15-year-olds can do if the work is classified as part of a work-based learning program, and also strips workers' compensation rights for these workers. So we're gonna jump to some other states as well, Trey, but I'm curious what you think about some of what's being proposed so far in Iowa.
Well, it's just some of the things that they propose or come out with, it boggles my mind because I'm like, I don't know how you propose things like this without realizing that like you're the bad guys or whatever. Like you would think there's only one right side to be on of the debate over whether children should be, worked in the salt mines or whatever. But like they just want to push us backwards in every direction. Like that, they wouldn't mind if it was still like the days of Victorian era street urchins where it's like, well, they're the only ones that fit up the chimneys, isn't it? Like that, they wouldn't bother them at all. And it's wild to me. At the same time, they're like raising the retirement age. You know what I mean? It's like they just want you. They're like lowering the age at which you can enter the workforce and raising the age at which they'll allow you to leave it. And it's like they clearly just want to have you available as a labor asset, and you work every day of your life until you die, and thank them for the privilege. And that's all they care about.
Yeah, 100%. Start earlier, end later, and that's pretty much it, man. I thought it was gonna be bad enough when like the robots were gonna take our jobs. Apparently they're gonna take the good jobs. We're still gonna have to work. In fact, we're gonna have to work more, and the robots are gonna have the better jobs. In any event, that's Iowa. In Minnesota, there was a bill January 2023 to extend work hours for 14 to 15-year-olds. Republicans passed the bill after it was vetoed by Governor Tony Evers. Phil Murphy, by the way, who is a Democrat, signed a similar law to Wisconsin's in 2022 that expanded work hours for 14 and 15-year-olds to work longer hours during summer months, on holidays, and expanded allowable work hours for 16 and 17-year-olds. In Ohio, legislators reintroduced a bipartisan bill this year to extend workable hours for 14 and 15-year-olds with permission from a parent or legal guardian. So look, philosophically, I will say that even trying to move in a direction where as young as 14, we're encouraging people to work more and more hours, I don't particularly like that philosophically. That stuff doesn't bother me nearly as much as the stripping away protections or like if you're injured, letting you work more dangerous jobs. I hate that way more. Look, I started working as a busboy, I think at 14 or whatever. Right. I was from a family that didn't have any means. I desperately needed to do this. That said, if I got injured, in theory, I would be protected. I wasn't working insane hours. It was already bad enough for me, but I just don't like the direction this is clearly pointing in, Trey. Where kids should be able to be kids. They should be learning, they should be developing whatever their career is going to be or trade they want to get involved in. They shouldn't be ground down at the age of 14.
No, of course I agree. I mean, I'm from a similar background. I started working at an early age too, and it was like seen as like a source of pride and everything. But again, I mean, 14, 15-year-olds, I think it's a different story. A lot of the jobs they can get, but put a little more money in their pocket or whatever, it's not the end of the world. But it's like you said, it's the direction it points with. It's like I don't know. I just don't like the sense of entitlement of it either. It's like, we should be entitled to work your children literally to death and not, have any sort of repercussions for it. It's like the implication is, well, if you're going to like sue us and make us pay a bunch of money just because a kid dies that we work to death, then maybe we'll take all these jobs and go somewhere else. How would you feel about that? Like they just act like Al Pacino and Scarface, like, that we all need them screaming at us with, Coke dripping out of their nose at the restaurant in revulsion and hatred. It's just also, I don't know, egregious. And the way they do it out in the open is, like I was saying earlier, is the part that gets me. There's just no shame. No shame at all in some of the stuff they're trying. Some of the stuff they're trying to do, I get where they're going for, from a bottom line perspective and all that. But at least do it with a little bit of shame. Try to hide the ball at least a little bit. Try to pretend like you're not doing what you're doing, but they don't care. It don't bother them at all.
I think to the extent that there's hiding, I think what the hiding they'll do is actually what you referenced there. They're going to talk about like, oh, there's pride in work, so we're just trying to give kids a chance to have pride. Meanwhile, they're stripping away any workforce protection so that if your kid, falls into a vat of liquid metal or whatever, you get nothing. They're not going to focus on that part. They're going to focus on the pride part or whatever. And they'll also say, we desperately need this because there's a labor shortage or whatever. Right. Millennials are lazy. They'll demonize more workers as they encourage kids to work until their fingers are nubs. And you'll notice though that they're never going to advocate for like a higher minimum wage. Like, if there's a labor shortage, then maybe if the companies would pay more money, then you get more people to work. No, it's always going to be making it easier to exploit, not more incentives to work.
Yeah, no, like actual economists all would tell you like a genuine labor shortage is treated by increasing wages, right? That's how you approach it, right? But there's not a genuine labor shortage in this country right now. It's just that they, are still offering people slave wages and people are realizing they don't have to or want to work for that. And until they, realize that and adjust it upward commensurately, they're going to be in the same position. But there's a theme emerging here with this and the train derailments. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, where we have to force them to act right, because they prove time and time again that if we don't, they won't. Like they will work, 12-year-olds by the vats of liquid chemicals, and when they fall in, they won't do anything about it. They'll still bottle up those liquid chemicals and put them on the, on the shelf or whatever with little Johnny inside of it. Like they used to do that back, before Utopia and all those books came out. Or what was it? Who's the author? Thomas something another.
Upton Sinclair.
Upton Sinclair. Thomas is way wrong. Before Upton Sinclair, back in those days, they did all that stuff all the time, and they want to take us back to that,
Yeah. And I know what you're all thinking. Falling into pits of chemicals is how you get a lot of the better Batman villains, and I get it, but we'll find some other way. Like I don't think we need that. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.